What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson, today joined by my co-hosts, Collin Alcabes and Will Cohen. I think that's right.
Yes, said it perfectly. Most people don't get it right the first time, but you got it right.
But we are back to discuss last night's dominating win over the Buffalo Sabres. The Rangers took home a 5-1 victory in their season opener. And there's a lot of things to go over from the game. A lot of players played really well. Not too many players played bad at all, which is a great sign right there. But before we get into things, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, leave your thoughts on the game last night down in the comments below. And be sure to follow all of our social media accounts at Fireside Rangers on both Twitter, X, and Instagram. But before we really get into things, Collin, how are you doing today? How are you feeling about that win?
I'm good. I'm ecstatic. That was a great win, a great team effort. It was great seeing the boys back out on the ice, being able to rep the jersey, cheer, have a beer, and watch the game on a Thursday night. It just something felt right about it.
Something did feel very right. It was a very good game. Will, what are your thoughts on the game?
When the game started and before, Lafreniere had his first goal, I really was just expecting the Sabres to pot one. That's all I was watching for was, when are the Sabres going to pot a goal? And it never happened until the second period. And I was completely shocked at how that game turned out. I thought we were going to get off to a slow start, and right off the bat, it was just like, holy crap. Like, what happened to the team? What happened to the Rangers that I love? Like, well, not love, but, what happened to the Rangers of the past 2 years? Like, what did Laviolette do with them? It was like a complete 180. It was awesome to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the Laviolette effect is really already taking place after just one game. Last season saw a lot of our star players disappear in the playoffs, but they already appear to be working harder and back. I would say out of all of the Rangers' top players, Kreider was really the only impactful one throughout that series against New Jersey. But just already last night, Kreider put up 2 goals and an assist. Zibanejad had 3 assists, and Panarin had a goal and an assist. So, Collin, when you look at those 3 players, the Rangers stars, who do you think played the best? Who really stood out to you?
I'm gonna say it was Panarin. I think Panarin, coming off of an offseason of questions, an offseason of shaved heads, an offseason of lack of confidence. I thought he had a really strong showing, especially playing with 2 new line mates that he hasn't played with before. I know he's had a little bit of time with Laf, but not a whole lot. And I think that he made the most of his opportunities. And if you look at a quote from Laf, I mean, he said it best. When you play with a guy like Brad, you just got to try to get open. He's going to find you. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, the first goal of the season is Panarin shooting the puck, chasing the rebound, and getting it across to an open Lafreniere, who tucks it into an empty net. Doesn't get any better than that. You love to see your star players grinding, chasing those rebounds, and making the most of the opportunities after the fact.
I mean, I agree right there. That's a very good quote from Lafreniere. It's a dangerous line right there on the second, especially if Hedl stays there, because he's a good, young, talented player who will also get elevated by Panarin's amazing style of play. But, Will, what were your thoughts on Panarin, also Zibanejad and Kreider? Who surprised you the most coming out of the gate, like scoring points?
I would say it's Panarin. I don't think I've seen Panarin do what he did yesterday since the 2019-20 season. Like, I mean, last 2 years, we know that he would shoot the puck, but not as much. He was he was really a passer. I mean, that he's a great passer, but we also know he has a great release. He has a great shot. So, seeing him shoot for the rebound, get his rebound, and then make a play to Lafreniere was completely weird to see with him, because the last 2 years, like I said, didn't happen. And then the play Lafreniere made on the boards trickles to Panarin, and Panarin shoots and scores there. I feel like last year, in the last 2 years, Panarin would have probably passed that somewhere else or skated farther into the ozone. So I think him coming out that way after having the playoff performance he did, only 2 assists in 7 games, and they both came in game 1. It's great to see that he hasn't lost spirits and he's not pissed with himself. He's just going out. He's playing more relaxed. And I think a head coach like Peter Laviolette, who's more heads-on or hands-on, as it's been reported that Panarin loves. So I think him having Laviolette is going to lead him to being a lot more looser on the ice, because he likes to be pushed more than not. So I think he's going to have another great year, and it's great to see him play the way he did yesterday.
And both of you guys chose Panarin there, and both of you guys also happened to mention Alexis Lafreniere, who looks like he's off to a great start to the season. a lot of Rangers fans were being very critical of him after terrible playoffs, a questionable offseason, and then a pretty bad preseason. But Lafreniere goes out there, shuts up all the haters, and scores the first goal of the season for the Rangers. So Lafreniere is a very interesting player to watch this season as he enters the first year of his bridge deal. He has a lot to prove to the Rangers, to the fans, and really just show why he was the first overall pick. So, Collin, what were your thoughts on Lafreniere last night? How do you think he looked? And are you more hopeful for the regular season now from him after seeing him play last night?
I think he showed a lot of promise. I think he went out there and he just kind of blocked out all the negative energy. And you're right, he shut us all up. I mean, I was very critical of him. I thought he would succeed maybe in a year. I didn't think this was his year. But he's already proving us wrong. He had a very strong showing. He had the goal, getting to the nitty-gritty areas in front of the net, and that's what you love to see, following up plays, like I mentioned before. But then he also won a battle along the boards, and it squirts out to Panarin, and he really should have gotten an assist on that play, in my opinion. But you love to see the battle from the kid, and I think that him playing in the top six is not only good for his confidence because it shows that the coaching staff trusts him, but it's good for his confidence in the fact that he gets to play with higher tier talent. Obviously, Hedl is very good, and he gets to remain with that continuity as a center. And it's no shade at Kakko at all. But when you play with two other young guys, it can be a little bit of a struggle as opposed to like bona fide superstars like Panarin and like Kakko's playing with Zibanejad and Kreider. It'll only up their game and allow them to take space that those players create and run with it. So I'm excited to see what he will do for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. And Will, like, what are your opinions on that second line with Panarin and Lafreniere teamed up? Do you think it's just been the lack of playing time and surrounding talent that's been holding Lafreniere back? Like, do you think he's finally going to have that breakout season like we've been expecting?
I'm trying to think of like how I can put this. I think it was the lack of talent, but I also think it was the lack of a coach having belief in him. As we know with Laviolette, there's been so many quotes of him saying positive things about Lafreniere, and it seemed like yesterday during morning skate, a couple videos, I know one was posted by Johnny Lazarus, one was posted by Colin Stevenson. It was Laviolette going up to Lafreniere before practice started or morning skate and was talking to him. Lafreniere was nodding his head. It seemed like he was being reaffirmed by Laviolette. So I think a lot has to do with that, but also a lot does have to do with playing with Panarin. I mean, Panarin, we all know he's a great player, and on Lafreniere's first goal, or his only goal, really, Panarin finds him a no-look pass, and Lafreniere puts it right in the back of the net. I don't care if it was a tap-in, still a goal, and Panarin finds him. I think him having a great passer like Panarin is going to allow him to shoot the puck a lot more. And hopefully, I know in the past he deflected a lot to Panarin, but last night it really didn't seem like that. I mean, he was skating really well. He was making his own plays along the boards that led to, like Collin said, that Panarin goal. But, I mean, I think that Panarin Hedl Lafreniere line was easily the best yesterday, and I think it's going to continue to just get better in the next couple of games and this season.
I agree. I think it would be nice to see that line stick together, especially with the success that they found. But there's only one player in the entire the Rangers top six who did not record a point last night, and that was Kaapo Kakko. And he's another one of those players who's on the verge of a breakout. And we're not going to sit here and after one game and be like, oh, he didn't score a point. Like it's time to give up on the kid. But I think he looked decent last night. He looked very strong with the puck as usual. Made a couple of good plays, but once again just couldn't find the back of the net. So Collin, just like looking at Kakko last night, how did you feel about him? Do you think he played bad or was just unlucky once again?
I think he had a few good opportunities. I think some of it was just good goalie play. Devin Levi is a world-class goalie. I mean, we saw it at the beginning of last season. He's one of the top goaltending prospects out there. So to hang up 5 on him was impressive. But it's not like anything against Kakko. It's merely just lack of finishing at times. But again, Levi plays out of his mind, so there's not really much you could do about it. The goals will come as the season progresses, I'd imagine. I think he's a little nervous, and I would be too. I think he's just got to find a rhythm again with Zibanejad and Kreider. I think that they have that bromance that everybody knows is well documented across the past couple seasons, going back to the KZB line with Buchnevich. Those three are boys. Buchnevich now gone, but the Kreider and Zibanejad romance has lived on to this day. So I think that they have a lot better of a feeling of where each other are at all times, and it makes it a lot easier on them to give it back and forth. And Kako's kind of got to find his footing and be that third bro in the bromance.
Yeah, that first line does have some good chemistry that has been built up a lot over the last few years. And now you add Kako into the mix. So, Will, just that line as a whole, Kreider, Zibanejad, Kako, like, how did you feel about it last night? And what kind of potential do you think they bring to the Rangers?
I know last episode we talked about, or Wednesday's episode, we talked about Kako and the Zibanejad, Kreider, Kako line being the best at 5v5 in the time they played last year. And I think yesterday, I don't know if they had as good of a game as they did last year when they were together, but I thought Kako had a good chance, and I think Levi made a really good save on him if I remember correctly. And like Collin said, I think a lot of it's just puck luck. It looks like he's shooting. I think he was shooting the puck a lot yesterday. He shot it a couple times, and I mean, I also think that as the season goes on, I mean, with the bromance Kreider and Zibanejad have, I think Kako will get a lot more comfortable, and I think as the year goes on, that line's going to progress, kind of like the Panarin Heedle year line.
I mean, I agree. They showed a lot of potential. Looks very good. There's a lot of points scored last night. 8 different skaters managed to tally points. I'm not going to sit here and list all 8 names, but 3 of the names I do want to point out all happen to be defensemen. Jacob Trouba netted a goal, given it was at the end of the game, but a goal is a goal. Keandre Miller had 1 assist, and Adam Fox had an assist. So moving on to the defense last night, I personally think the defense played amazing. You know, if they could play like that every game, the Rangers could easily say they have one of the better defensive cores in the entire NHL. Like, there was only 1 goal allowed against, and that came from some great play from Shesterkin as well, who we'll get into him a little later on in the episode. But the defense, they looked incredible. The Rangers had 23 blocked shots. Jacob Trouba made up 8 of those. Just an incredible stat line right there. But Collin, when you look at the defense, how did you feel about them? And were there any standout defensemen in your eyes?
The defense was stellar. I think there's no better way to put it. I think it definitely starts with the forwards being more reliable in their own zones and staying on their points and sticking to their mans. And I think a lot of that comes from Laviolette's new style of play that holds everybody accountable in all 3 zones. I think that it's massive, and it takes a little bit of weight off the defenseman, allows them to do what they do best, and that's take guys out of plays, negate them entirely, and also get in the shooting lanes. And I think we did just that. 23 block shots, that's a lot. 8 for Trouba, that's fantastic. I know everybody doesn't love that contract, and you know, he isn't exactly what we expected him to be when we brought him over. But 8 block shots is fantastic. It's very good. It's 8 high scoring chances or low scoring chances that could have gone on net. It just takes a little bit off of Shesterkin's back and allows him to be the player that we know he can be for even longer. And it's all about longevity for Shesterkin and not letting him get too tired or too burnt, or maybe, you know, tweaking something on a save that he shouldn't be even able to make. But, you know, he's a god and he finds a way. But it's all about just helping him out. And I think that the defense did a great job of that. I know Miller had a couple huge blocks that went out of play. Obviously, Trouba with the 8, as we mentioned multiple times. I think Lindgren had another strong game. I couldn't even notice anything bad. Gustafsson wasn't exactly noticeable, but that's not always a bad thing as a defenseman. Sometimes the best thing is to be not noticeable because it means you're not doing anything bad. And I think that third pairing was very good. I think all around it was a solid game for the D-core and a solid game defensively for all of the forwards.
Of course, it was an all-around great game from the defense. You know, the defensive pairings remained pretty much the same from last season. You had Fox and Lindgren, you had Miller and Trouba, and then the only difference is now that Braden Schneider has Eric Gustafsson there. So, Will, out of those 3 defensive pairings, which one looked the best to you, and like who do you think was like a standout defenseman?
This is probably going to be my answer for a lot of the time. And the Rangers' best D pair. It was Lindgren and Fox. I thought Lindgren had he generated a lot of good chances in the offensive end, as well as blocking a lot. I think he blocked like 3 shots on 1 power play or something. So, I mean, they looked really good. Obviously, it has Adam Fox, who looked great yesterday, like he always does. I think those 2 look the best. I mean, that's probably what it's going to be like night in and night out, but it's hard not to give credit to Jacob Trouba, who had 8 block shots, and Miller, who had an assist. I mean, 8 block shots is nuts. And I think the defense did very well at taking a little bit of pressure off of Shesterkin's shoulders. I think they limited the Sabres' offensive chances and their shots attempts to like outside the perimeter, or in the perimeter, not in the perimeter, on the perimeter. Apologize. So I think it wasn't something we saw much last year. I mean, a lot of the teams we played against last year would be in getting chances in close to Shesterkin, and then some would trickle in, but they were playing great. They were playing great, had an aggressive back check, an aggressive forecheck in the O zone and neutral zone. It was just a completely different game for the defense, and they were also stepping up a lot more in the neutral zone and making those plays. And I think that's going to help this team as well, because they were not even close to being as aggressive as they should have been in the neutral zone last year.
I like that you mentioned that it definitely eased a lot of stress off of Shesterkin's shoulders, who he himself too had an incredible game. Only 1 goal allowed, not exactly his fault. But last night's win was his 100th of his career. So it's a great personal milestone for Shesterkin. I know he is the 7th fastest goalie to reach that mark, I believe.
Fastest for the Rangers, yeah.
Yeah. So, Collin, what were your thoughts on Shesterkin? Obviously, they're going to be all good, but were there any plays that really stood out to you, and just how are you feeling about him?
I mean, it's hard to feel bad about Shesterkin. Shesterkin will do Shesterkin things. He's a world-class goalie, top 2 in the league, top 1 at this current moment, simply because Vasilevsky's hurt. But he's fantastic, and you rarely can find anything bad to say about his play. And it goes for this instance as well. He was stellar. I thought he was phenomenal when he needed to be. I think obviously the defense helped, but he still made the saves when he needed to. And, that's all you can really ask of him. I think if he can play like this all season and the defense can continue to clear the lanes for him and block the shots, I think that we have a very, very good chance at going far.
Yeah. And Shesterkin is probably the Rangers MVP in my opinion, and he's going to look to get a lot more wins this season. With his 100th win, he has moved up a little bit just in the Rangers all-time win rankings. He's currently number 8th all-time on the Rangers. Just last season passed the prior 8th place. I don't remember who exactly it was, but he had 98. And now Shesterkin sits 23 wins behind number 7. So, Will, again, I think I probably know the answer to this, but do you think Shesterkin has it in him to get up to number 7 all time this season, another 23 wins?
Who's number 7? Or not number 7, number 6? Because that's who I'm looking at to see if, I know that Igor's going to pass number 6. I think he might pass number 6 this year. Maybe I don't know how many wins it is, but he's definitely passing number 7, and it's gonna be one glorious day when he does. I mean, he is, since coming into this league, I know he had the longest streak without a loss by a rookie when he came into the league. I think he won trying to remember how many games he won. I don't want to say the wrong thing and sound like an idiot, but he's always been a winner at every single level he goes to, and there's really nothing bad to say about him or his game yesterday. Obviously, we all know it wasn't bad at all, but he's just such a special goaltender, and it's really nice that we have the best goaltender in the world right now.
It is a very nice feeling. I think by the end of his career, there is a chance that Shesterkin could make a push for number 1. I know Henrik Lundqvist finished his career with 459, and I ran some numbers earlier, and it was like, if Shesterkin were to average 35 wins a season for the next 10 years, which isn't out of the question, he's only 27 years old, that would bring him right into Lundqvist range. So I have very large hopes for Shesterkin as a Rangers fan. But the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up this episode is the Rangers special teams. Last night, the power play went 1 for 4, and the penalty kill went 3 for 3 with one shorthanded goal from Chris Kreider right there. So, Collin, of the 2 different special teams units, power play and penalty kill, which one were you most impressed by? Obviously, both very good stats, but which one stood out to you the most?
It's hard to pick. It really is, because that shorthanded goal was a beauty. It was great. I mean, it was great follow-up. Again, just following up your chances and crashing the net. But I'd have to go with the power play. I think the power play was, even though they were only 1 for 4, getting a lot of high-quality chances. One of those power plays was entirely the second unit because it was late in the game. And I think they were moving the puck extremely well, considering it's most of the kids. You know what I mean? I think they were creating their chances. Kreider is a tip god, as it's been established now. He might have better hand-eye than Joe Pavelski, who was once the tipping king. But I think it was, if you look in the last 2 seasons, I think Kreider has 76 tipped in goals or deflected goals. I believe was the stat they flashed on MSG last night, which is just absurd. But I thought that as a whole, they were just driving offense. They were maintaining zone pressure. They were not forcing anything too much, and they were getting good looks throughout. I think Blake Wheeler looks good on that left side from Zibanejad's office. I'm going to call it, even though it's really Ovi's office. But I think Wheeler looked good on that wing, slapping home 1-tees. Obviously, none of them cashed in, but I think that they were it was high-quality chances all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The power play did look amazing last night. Already appears to be in midseason form, just like Shesterkin. But Will, last thing before we wrap up, the penalty kill, 3 for 3. It was a perfect game, 1 shorthanded goal. Just overall thoughts on that.
They were blocking a lot of shots. I feel like every time they were on the penalty kill, it was like 10 block shots. We didn't really see a lot of that last year. Like, I mean, they would block some shots, but I mean, it was like every single shot was getting blocked. And I was just stunned. I mean, we got some warriors on that defense, and that penalty kill, but the penalty kill has been good for the past couple of years. So, I mean, I wasn't really worried about it, but like, I think they had Kako on they had Phil on the penalty kill, I think, yesterday, which I was a little shocked by, but I mean, they kind of want to make him like Mika, and Mika's on the PK. And so if you can get Hito to play like Mika, where you can play really good defense and also perform well in the offensive zone, it's gonna be a wild ride for this team. It's gonna go a long way.
Well, that's the goal. The Rangers should hopefully go a long way, make a deep playoff run, and then win the Stanley Cup. But there's still a long way away for that. It was only game 1 out of 82 for the regular season. The Rangers will be back in action tomorrow night against the Columbus Blue Jackets, so we will look to stay undefeated and go 2-0 and hopefully put up another performance like this one. But as we wrap up, I don't know if you guys have any last comments or questions about the Rangers last night.
I just want to throw some love to Kreider. I feel like he didn't get talked about a lot in this episode. I thought he played a stupendous game. I think that his ability to drive the net, it was the reason why he got both those goals. I think that he is going to be, currently he's on pace for, what was it? It was 164 goals right now. So hopefully, he gets over that 30-goal mark again. I'm hoping that he pushes 40 this year. He looks great. His speed is up. He's obviously as strong as a puck as he always is. And I'm hoping that Kako will step into that role a little bit more. And as he garners some confidence and some familiarity with his line mates, that it'll create space and hopefully have defenses forgetting about Kreider in front of the net and allow him to do his thing. So I just wanted to give Kreider a quick shout out.
Of course, Kreider is the GOAT. I saw a stat line earlier that said if Kreider averages 35 goals for the next 7 seasons, he is on pace to become the Rangers' leading scorer of all time or something like that. Don't quote me on those numbers, though, because I didn't pay too much attention to it. But Will, any closing remarks about last night's win?
I know we talked about Lafreniere already, but I mean, it was easily his best game at Ranger. He was so confident. He had swagger to his game, and I think that the NHL official scorers should give him an assist on the Panarin goal because he was even. I mean, I think it actually really did trickle off of Sabres' stick, but he made that goal happen. He created that. He created the turnover, and I mean, if he keeps it up, I know it's just one game and anything can happen, but that was the first time. What is it? His 4th year that he's scored in a Rangers opener. So I mean, that's huge for him. That game is going to be huge for his confidence, and I'm excited to see what he does the rest of the year.
Of course, as we all are. But we will be covering the rest of the year, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell so you don't miss a notification, because we will be covering the Rangers for a very, very long time throughout this season. But make sure you leave your thoughts on last night's game down in the comment section below. Follow all of our social media accounts at Fireside Rangers on both X and Instagram. And yeah, until next time, have a good one, and
let's go Rangers.
Rangers.